Yo, what's good? Hold up. Hold up. Yo, what's good? Freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla Gorilla, aka the definition, hollering at y'all with a live stream, with a quick live stream as I head back to the tilt and be with my family. So, let's talk about Donald Trump, people. Let's talk about what he's doing. Let's talk about what Donald Trump is doing. Let's talk about his executive orders. Let's talk about him wanting to end income tax, right? He wants to remove income tax for the federal government. He wants to reduce government. He wants to reduce wasteful spending, right? That's what he wants to do. That's what he's saying. That's what he's telling people. That's what the DOGE is about, you know, and what Elon Musk is doing, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, right? That's what that's all about, right? That's what we as the folks here in the land they call America, that's what we're supposed to believe. We're supposed to believe that he wants to reduce government, he wants to end income tax, he wants to reduce wasteful spending, which are all good things, right? They're all good things, and he might actually do those things. Donald Trump was saying that, you know, I think they said Doge, right, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, has basically prevented or ended $100 billion worth of wasteful spending. That is a good thing, right? They also are saying that Donald Trump himself says that he wants to get rid of income tax for the individual. That is a good thing. He wants to get rid of certain government agencies and certain government bureaucracies. I know that with the CIA, he plans on cutting a lot of CIA workers and give them payouts, you know, just for them to leave, right? And the interesting thing when you ask, or when a reporter asks Donald Trump, what happens when all these people are removed from government jobs and all this other shit? And they ask him, you know, what happens when the government doesn't have enough employees? He basically said, well, we're going to hire better employees. We're going to hire smarter, more, we're going to hire sharper employees. We're going to hire more efficient employees. To me, what that sounds like is that he is going to, you know, hire more people back into the government positions that he feels are necessary, but the employers are going to be better qualified, right? He wants to hire more qualified people to work for the government. You hope it's permanent, says Jew Division. And I'm glad the Most High using Trump to do his dirty work. Okay. And then there's a Bible verse. All right. Yes, please. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. God chose Trump, not the Electoral College. Okay. All right. That's what's up. My question is it going to be permanent, right? A lot of the things that he's doing is through executive action. He's doing it through executive action. The problem with that is that the next president comes along, all he has to do is reverse those executive actions. Much of these things that he's doing, you know, creating DOGE, ending government agencies, you know, cutting jobs, you know, reducing government, is all done by executive action. And what this ends up doing is making it temporary as long as he's president, right? The tariffs, the 25% tariffs that he's doing, which could bring a lot of money back to the United States, right? Think about it. 25% tariffs for Mexico and Canada. Another 10% for China. He's talking about tariffs for the European Union. 22 Ronin was good. 22 Ronin says a new political party could rise. That is a possibility. Listen, he's talking about tariffs for the European Union. He's talking about reducing the amount of spending in NATO and all these different things, right? These are all good things if you look at it. These are all good things temporarily. He did a lot of things during during the first term that got completely reversed by Joe Biden. And look at the shambles that occurred after that. These are not permanent solutions, y'all. Right? They could help for the 4 years and maybe another 2 years going into the next term, the next presidency. Now, depending on who that next president is, it could all be for nothing, and we could just be right back into high inflation and all these different things, right? And by the way, how is that reducing inflation going? Has he reduced any inflation yet? No, not yet. And these tariffs, right? What they're supposed to do is help bring manufacturing and whatnot back to the United States, which is that's a good thing, right? Bringing private industry back to the United States to hire people to do these different things, right? And to reduce deficits and reduce debt to other countries. These are good things. These are good things on the face of it because of what government did to get us in these horrible positions in the first place, right? But again, these are temporary solutions. These are band-aids, right? These are band-aids because again, it's through executive order. If you want more permanent things to happen, right? Now, I'm not even talking from the standpoint of an anarchist. I'm talking from a standpoint of a statist who actually believes believes in government and believes in the politicians and believes in the left-right paradigm line, right? Even from that standpoint, you have to look at these as temporary solutions. Because if you want more permanent solutions, you have to do it through legislation. You have to do it through Congress and the Senate. You have to do things like add amendments, repeal amendments, and these things, there are processes to these things that aren't done at the stroke of a government pen, right? That aren't done at the stroke of a presidential pen, right? You need a convention of states to change amendments and add amendments and doing all these different things. You need a legislative process for more permanent things to happen, right? That, if I were to take seriously, I would look at that because again, the next president comes along and he doesn't like what Trump done, he can reverse the things he didn't like and keep in the things that he feels would help him look good during his presidency. Or let's say it's another Republican, right? That thinks along the lines of Donald Trump that has the same vision. He could keep a lot of those executive orders in place, add more, and do a lot of good things as well. But at the end of the day, what is the best thing to do? If you really want to reduce government, right? You reduce it down to the bare bones. You reduce government down to bare bones if you want it to be effective, right? Because you can't completely eradicate government right now. Not the way that the world is, not the state we live in as a people, not in this current climate, right? And this is all because of government atrocities, right? Not just the U.S. government, but governments all over the world. Governments have committed millions of atrocities over the centuries. And these things will, let's say government gets dismantled within a split second, there's no government in the United States. It's all going to be in shambles, right? We're going to get invaded by other hostile countries. They're going to think, oh, well, oh, there's no government. They don't have any protection. They don't have a leader. They'll come over here and take over. And that's it. We'll have even less freedom than we have now. And this is only because of how government operates. They have put us in a position to where, Jesus, they have put us in a position to where we need government to be around to a certain degree. And if we really want true freedom, then it has to be done piece by piece, methodically, strategically over a number of years. That's just how it works. And even after that, right, you would still need some form of, because we're talking about the United States. We're talking about the United States achieving freedom that it has never seen before. You would still have to have some type of authority in place just to protect us, protect the borders, protect us from being invaded. Unfortunately, this is how it is. We need some form of organization. And this would have to be voluntary organization that consists of military, right? Because we need the borders protected, we need the waters protected, we need the air protected. So you would still need branches of the military to still be in existence, and somebody has to be in charge of that military, right? And there would need to be some type of command structure in place. Now, this military would be completely voluntary, right? But once you join this military, you are at the behest of the military, right? You would have to basically follow orders as they see fit. 22 Ronin says, lazy bureaucrats, stagnant, lazy bureaucrats are the ones crying. Yeah. Judah Vision says, nah, we don't need no more damn parties. I agree. But here's the problem with no more parties. We don't need the two parties we have. And as long as we have the two parties we have, then there is not going to be fair representation. So we don't need the two parties we have in control, and we don't need more parties. But in order for more balance to be there, for more representative balance, you need more parties in Congress. Does that make sense? I'm a realist, despite being an anarchist, right? I'm an anarchist at heart, but I am a realist. And I understand that this country would not survive just ending government right away. No. It would not survive it. No, it would not survive it. And even, like I said, you will still need military in place. You will still need to protect the borders. You need to protect the airspace and the waters. And you would still need some form of trade with other countries for crucial things until we become completely self-sufficient. It's just the bottom line to it. It's unfortunately, that is what it is. But within the interior of the United States, individuals could enjoy more levels of freedom. You know what I'm saying? Free up federal lands, right? Give those back to the people. Give that back to the wild, right? You would decentralize government, of course. You would break it down to the smallest communities where they have their own thing going on. And that's how you do that, right? That's how you do that. But you would still need some type of shared control of the military. But outside of that, you know, you would break it down to you would privatize most other things. And I'm not talking about privatizing water and privatizing air and privatizing food. No, I'm talking about like police forces, security forces, right? Medical care, you know, the schools, right? Education. All those things will be privatized, right? All those things will be privatized. You know what I'm saying? Infrastructure building, that could be privatized. You build infrastructure, maintain roads. You don't need government to maintain roads. You just need smart people that know how, that have the know-how. And we already have that, right? We have engineers, we have electricians, we have plumbers. I appreciate that, Sister Cameron. We got plumbers, we got electricians, we got architects, we got nurses, we have doctors, we have people with knowledge, right? And at the end of the day, people can collaborate, they can align, they can plan, and they can do all those things with respect to each other's individual freedoms and individuality. These things are possible, right? These things are possible for the betterment of everybody in this country, but with individual freedoms in mind. Individual freedoms in mind. These are permanent solutions. What Donald Trump wants to do are not permanent solutions. Real odds and evens. No, I would not want to be president. But do I want to help facilitate everyone's freedom? Absolutely. Absolutely. Could I consult? Could I help guide? Could I help lead? Absolutely. Reluctantly. Right? But what I really want is for every individual to choose their own life's path, choose who guides them, choose who leads them, because not everybody are leaders, right? And not everyone are, you know, people can, there's nothing wrong with relying on each other, right? There's nothing wrong with coming together of the minds and working together. There's nothing wrong with that. It just has to be voluntary. It has to be voluntary. It has to be mutual. It has to be beneficial for everybody. And these are things that can just happen. If you look at tribal communities, that's how they do things, right? That's how they do things. You think they wouldn't, right? Because and it looks like that because of the dangers they have to face in nature. There has to be so anarchy does not mean no structure, no guidance, no system. No, it means no authority. That's what it means. That's all it means. No rulers. So if you look at indigenous tribal communities, you think, oh, well, there's a chief and everybody does what the chief says. No, no, no. The chief is looked at and respected as a leader. They are chosen for the most part. They are chosen. It's when that chief becomes greedy that it becomes a problem, right? That's when he starts trying to dictate. That's when he starts trying to rule over everybody. No one can make decisions for themselves. No one, you know what I mean? But in smaller tribal communities, smaller communities in general, you have where everybody knows each other and everybody has to answer and be accountable for their own actions. Well, you have a lot more respect for individuality. CR says, BS, we don't vote for anarchy. Of course you don't vote for anarchy. That would not be anarchy. If you voted for anarchy, that would not be anarchy. No, you don't vote for anarchy. No, you don't. You fight for it. You fight for anarchy. You don't vote for it. Right? You fight for freedom. You don't vote for freedom. You just achieve freedom. Right? Because guess what? With true freedom and anarchy, you would not need to vote for freedom. Those who want freedom would just be free. And those who don't want freedom, those who want to be ruled over, well, they'll choose their rulers. And you can still do that, right? You might have a community where you want a dictator, and they dictate your every move, and they tell you what to do and what you can't do. They tell you how you can and can't live. And that's how you would do that. You would just go to that community, and anybody that does not want to participate in that nonsense, they don't have to. They can just go ahead and leave, and you mind your own fucking business. It's not about what you vote and don't vote for. It's about minding your own goddamn business. So in a community, if you want to live and exist within a community where there's democracy, you can do that. You know, it's when you try to spread in that democracy and try to force that democracy on others when it becomes a problem. I'm glad you get it, 22 Ronin. The real Benjamin says, do I support Trump? No, I do not. No, I do not. Why? Because he's the president of the United States. Donald Trump ain't a freedom fighter. No, he's not. But that's another story. So again, what Donald Trump is doing are temporary band-aids. True freedom is not about voting or not voting. Democracy is horrible. Democracy is one of the worst political systems you could ever have. The real Benjamin said, good, we on the same page. I'm glad we on the same page. But are you really on the same page? Do you believe in freedom? CR believes in democracy, I believe. He believes in democracy. Democracy is a huge problem. And representation would not be a problem if those you chose to represent you actually represented you. And those who did not want you to represent them aren't forced to be represented by you, by the majority. You understand what I'm saying? So the permanent solution is achieving freedom methodically, breaking things down methodically and permanently, reducing government permanently, piece by piece, not to where, oh, well, it's going to be reduced for 4 years. And then when another president comes back, he's going to add more bureaucracy. He's going to add more government structures. Can you imagine that? That might be what happened. Donald Trump reduces government by 75%. And everybody applauds and thanks him and thinks he's the best president that's ever lived. Next president comes in, what does he do? Well, he brings that 25% back and adds another 25% to prevent further reduction in government through executive action. So now when the president after that comes in and wants to reduce government, he has to reduce it. He has to reduce the 25% over that the last president added, and then do another 25% just to get it down to where Donald Trump had it. You see what I'm saying? 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Or 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. You're always 1 step behind. No, you need permanent solutions. Permanent solutions. And it has to look right for the people. Because unfortunately, most people in this country do not believe in freedom. They think they do. They really don't. They don't even know what it is. They don't even know what it is. They don't even understand what freedom is. So, no, you can't. You have to do things in a certain way. And it might appear that Donald Trump is doing that thing in that certain way, but it would make more sense if there was legislation involved, a convention of states, where he convinced, if you can convince 2/3 of the states to reduce government, now we're talking. And guess what? The majority of states, if you look at the last election in November, the majority, more than 2/3 of the state, are now red. You understand? There was a red wave. So you have your states, you have your 2/3 to make permanent solutions. Observing stuff. Oh, what's good, bro? I ain't seen observing stuff in a minute. Wait, I'm sorry. Just saw your video said Canelo pulled out. Yes, Canelo pulled out. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, Canelo pulled out like a motherfucker. So listen, that's how you do that, right? You have to make it look like something to the people, right? And then once they see how effective less government is in their life, guess what? They can get on board with more reduction in government, right? So listen, let me tell you one good thing that Donald Trump is doing. Getting rid of the Department of Education. Pushing for school choice. Those are great things, right? What was his excuse? I don't think he gave an excuse. Observing stuff. I think he just didn't. I think he just said, "Fuck it, I'm not fighting Terrence Crawford." I don't know exactly what the excuse was. He just pulled out. He probably is not going to give an excuse. He probably said, "Nah, I don't want to fight him," and I can respect that. I can respect if he just says, "Nah, I don't think it's a good fight for me." But listen, reduction in government, you got to make it look like something, right? A lot of people think that Donald Trump is doing a lot of great things reducing government. But again, if you can do it on a permanent basis to where it's ironclad in the courts, it can be great. Imagine if, right, so let's say the Federal Reserve Act. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913. Imagine if he could repeal that, right? Repeal the Federal Reserve Act through an act, through Congress and through the Senate. You know what I'm saying? Through legislation. That would make it look like something to the American people, right? They can say, look, okay, the Department of Education is gone. The Federal Reserve Act is out of here, right? Let's say he brought back the gold standard, right? Brought back the gold standard. You know what I'm saying? All that type of shit. Things that are, back the dollar by something and make it valuable again. He's talking about all these resources he wants to pull out of Alaska. Well, if we get to the point where we have enough resources that we can extract right here in the United States safely and efficiently, well, we would no longer need fiat currency, would we? Get rid of fiat currency and have our currency backed by something. You know what I'm saying? Then we wouldn't need the petrodollar to hold the dollar up. These are things that he could really be doing to make it permanent, make it effective. So that just a president in the next term can't just come in and just reverse the shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Making it to where it's not reversible by another president. If the next president wants to reverse the shit, he's going to have to go through Congress and the Senate as well. Another thing that he could do, okay, you want to stop income tax? Make that permanent through legislation. Right? Now, and that's for income tax, right? That's for income tax, because we already know we're not supposed to be taxed for our income. It's in the Constitution. I don't know how they got away with it, but it is what it is. Service that says he worked for the government. People were offered a payout. Yeah, September 25th to resign. Yes. I'm aware of that. I talked about that earlier. Yes. What do you think about that observant stuff? Do you think that's a good thing? Because listen. Income tax, getting rid of income tax, he can do that through executive action. Why? Because it's in the Constitution, right? They violate the Constitution all the time. You know what I'm saying? He can do things with the tax code. He has certain things that he can do with the tax code. But here would be the kicker, though. If he wanted to create permanent solutions, he would eradicate the IRS. Just completely dismantle it, get it out of here. Get rid of the IRS. Right? Boom, bada boom, bada bing, IRS is going. No more extortion. You know what I'm saying? Now, as far as the corporations are concerned, you know what I'm saying? Those corporations that benefit from government taxation, right? The government the corporate welfare recipients. You know, yeah, let them pay taxes for a while. You know what I'm saying? Let them do that shit, and then it can go from there. But get rid of the IRS, right? He can shutter the IRS. He doesn't need. I don't believe he needs legislation for that. But what he does need a convention of states for is to not allow Congress to collect and lay taxes. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine if he said, you know what? We're going to do a convention of states. I want an amendment that removes Congress's ability to collect and lay taxes. And if he made that happen, how many Americans would go for that? Probably all of them. Probably all of them. They would go for it. I would go for it, wouldn't y'all? Stephen Pritchard was good. Wouldn't y'all go for that? Wouldn't y'all be happy for no more taxes? Oh, well, how are we going to pay for stuff? How's the government going to do shit? Well, they're going to have to collect money voluntarily from the people. You know, because, listen, people are going to be smart enough to understand that, look, we can't just, you know, people would just have to voluntarily give up, you know, pay for whatever they feel their money should go to. Make it, if you guys are nervous about completely eliminating taxes, well, make sure there's actual true representation. Make sure people know where their money is going and allow them to choose where their money goes. That means no more funding of foreign countries, no more funding foreign wars, none of that. None of that. No. People will have to agree on where their money goes. Their individual money, not no votes. I'm not talking about no fucking voting for where your money goes. No. You choose where your money goes. Right? You choose where your money goes. Right? Because you might not be able to just, okay, we can't just completely just stop paying taxes. No, make it more voluntary and more voluntary as the years go by. Right? So let's say get rid of that tax bracket bullshit, right? Where the more money you make, the more you pay tax. No, fuck all that. No. Make it to where, so what's going to have to happen is the government is going to have to get their little accountants together, find out how much they need to run the government efficiently for the period of time it needs until it's completely gone, right? Until certain things are in place that, you know, would make more sense freedom-wise, right? Of course, like I said, it has to be done methodically and strategically. You can't just completely do away with it. I understand this. I understand it. So what does that mean? That means that, okay, now we have to find out exactly how much we need to help the government run at the minimum. What is the minimum you need? Right? Of course, you're going to have to pay people to run the government, right? It's still going to be wasteful, no matter what. But now you're greatly reducing the waste until people can efficiently take care of things for themselves. Each individual community can handle their shit. You come up with treaties among communities, among states, amongst groups of people. Make sure that no one violates other people's rights. No one violates other people's freedoms. No one violates other people's land. And we all, you know, the resources are what they are, you know, right? They are accessible to everyone. No one entity or no elite group controls all of the resources. No, that's not how that's supposed to work. If I happen to live or stake out a place for myself and my family or our community that has a certain resource that I can extract, then we can talk about trades. We can talk about, okay, you have something I want, I got something you want. We can have a mutually beneficial transaction, and bada boom, bada bing, there you go. I appreciate that, Stephen. Or unless you're talking to guys in the chat. Howie Ziegler, how you doing? He says, we fought and gained independence in the Revolutionary War over taxes. If the government has the ability to tax your income, then you really don't have control over any of your money at all. Exactly. Bada boom, bada bing, there you have it. Exactly. You get it. Well, we eliminate government control by eliminating income taxes on a permanent basis. And anything that the government needs to run, they would have to go through the people. And those individuals will have to choose, I don't want my money to go to Pakistani gender studies. No, you eliminate all the wasteful spending immediately, all the pork. We don't need all that. No. We don't need the FBI. We don't need the CIA. We don't need the Department of Treasury. We don't need any of that. You really don't. I mean, guys, you really don't need all that. They make it to where you believe you need it because of how the world is right now, because globally we have certain things going on that makes it very difficult for us to stop spending overseas. Well, sometimes you got to pull the fucking band-aid off, right? Are other countries going to go to war? And listen, you also have another problem, right? You have nuclear weapons. You got nuclear weapons. We got hundreds and thousands. Listen, that is the reality that we have right now today. Nuclear weapons. And everybody, all these superpowers, they have nuclear weapons that they are that they got pointing at each other. We got mutually assured destruction. That has to stay in place. See, this is another reality that I am aware of as a freedom lover. That nuclear button, that football, right, that they call it. That is a reality. That's why you still need a strong military in place. See, the military just has to be kept in check. You got to keep that military in check because they might get a wild hair up their ass and decide that they can control everything. And next thing you know, we got military martial law, and we got a general for a president, and you have to keep checks and balances in place in a real way, not in a fake way. The court system. What do you do with the court system? Well, the court system would have to remain in place to a degree. Because, while we're trying to achieve freedom, you still got criminals, real criminals. So the penal code has to change to where you only get charged with real crimes. You know what I'm saying? You only get charged with real crimes that create real victims. And those real criminals have to be dealt with. But you got to deal with them in an efficient manner to where we're not wasting money on the motherfuckers, right? Well, how do you do that? Well, it depends on the criminal. If you kill someone and you are convicted and you are found beyond a shadow of a doubt to be a murderer, well, why are we putting you on death row for years and years and years? No. Why are we giving you life in prison to where we have to pay for your every meal, pay for you to sleep, pay for you to shit, pay for you to breathe the air? No. No, we're going to take you out back. Now you have to be convicted. You have to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to have done these acts. Murderers, pedos, rapers, those types of individuals, you got to go immediately. Summary execution. That is you're saving a lot of money that way. And what do you do with the prison system that's in place? Well, that's something else we got to figure out, right? I don't have every goddamn answer to every question, but that's something that can be figured out. There's a solution to that as well. I agree. Privatized prisons need to go as they exist today, because these are government subsidized private prisons. See, private prison, the private prison industrial complex is a special interest group, and they get special privileges and funds and all these things from the government that allow them to profit as they do. So they're not really private prisons, right? They are private prisons that are government subsidized and government aided, right? So private prisons are corporate welfare recipients. They are. So you just have to change the way private prisons operate. Because we're talking about privatizing everything, right? Privatizing every social thing, every, the police departments, the prison industry, the court system. These things would have to be privatized in a real way, not in a fake way. Private prisons are not really private prisons. They get certain things from the government, especially the justice system. Justice systems, they'll hand out certain sentences. If you think about how the 94 crime bill behaved, that was very much so pushed by private prisons. They love that shit. They love minimum sentences for non-violent offenses. Exactly, 22 Ronin. So what we really need to do is actually privatize, right? To where they're not subsisting off the government tip. See, people don't usually talk about corporate welfare recipients. People that, corporations that subsist and exist because of government influence, right? Because they got buddies in government, because they lobby with government, because they get tax cuts and they get incentives and all these different things. They are, they profit as they do because of government, even though they're private corporations. The same is true for private prisons. Yeah. Same is true for big oil. Same is true for all these different corporations. Same is true, especially for government contractors, right? That build these weapons, that build aircraft, that build tanks, and they're all, right? I mean, listen, this is the reality of it. They're private, but they just, subsist all. I mean, they get away with a lot of shit. And they profit as they do because of government. Because of laws that are framed to their benefit. These are things that are realities. Just like Google and YouTube and all these different social media platforms that are allegedly private, but really they subsist off government. They have laws and things in place because that allow them to operate as they do, to get away with shit that they normally would not from the people. They suffer very little consequences for the violations of people's rights as they do, because they are subsisted by government, right? So when people, when YouTube and other platforms, when they violate your freedom of speech, people tell y'all, well, they're a private company, they're not beholden to that. Well, if they get any help from government, if they get any assistance from government, if government allows them to operate as they do, well, guess what? I no longer consider you completely private. Therefore, you have to fall under the Constitution like the government does. It is what it is. Because they're real private companies that don't get no goddamn help from the government. They can't even discriminate if they choose to. Like that bakery that didn't want to bake that cake for that gay couple, and the government forced them to do it. That is a real private company. That is an actual private company. It was a small mom and pop shop, but they got zero government assistance. But when the government saw fit to force them to bake this cake for this gay couple, well, you see who truly benefits from government welfare, right? They were forced to bake that cake by the government, but they are not government subsidized. But you mean to tell me that YouTube is government subsidized? YouTube worked directly with government, just like Facebook and them, to suppress speech. And the government couldn't do anything about that, but they forced a bakery to bake a cake. A bakery that had zero government assistance. Tell me how that's supposed to work. You see the mismatch? You see the imbalance here? That is complete imbalance. That is complete imbalance. And that's what freedom is about, y'all. Freedom is about balance. That's why you have so much going on. That's why government rule is always resisted. Because that balance will always be there. We're out of balance. And governments continue to try and keep that shit out of balance. They try to continue to disturb the balance, and that's why we had the problem we had. And there you have that. Again, how permanent are these things Donald Trump is doing? Not very permanent, because they're executive actions that can be reversed by the next president. And the next president can just make shit worse. Just like Joey B did, right? Donald Trump did a lot of executive actions, did all these different things. And then Joe Biden came in and just completely fucked the pooch, right? Completely fucked the pooch to the point where Donald Trump can't even fulfill his promise of reducing prices. Right? Well, it's not that simple, y'all. Anyway, y'all, I gotta get off of this thing. I appreciate you guys for coming through. Yes, Congress and the Senate's looking lame. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Much love. Like, share, subscribe. And guess what, y'all? Guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna keep marching forward toward freedom and truth. Peace.